All right, what's going on, Facebook world? What's happening, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the PlantBased Loser platform. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. I'm going to ask you to share, spread the love, spread the love, spread the love, because I've got a special guest that I'm going to be interviewing. And my interviews are more like a conversation. So I want to welcome all of you who are watching right here, right now. Thanks for joining. I am Shabaka Amin, as you can see. And over a year ago, I launched a very important, and I say it's important because of how it's impacted people's lives. So it's important in light of the fact that the Plant-Based Loser Challenge is what I'm speaking of, the 21-day plant-based weight loss challenge that was launched back in March 2019 has made a difference in so many lives, people around the country. I have Plant-Based Loser Challenge customers and members who live in different states around America. And I just celebrated the birthday, the 1 year anniversary of the Plant-Based Loser Challenge brand, March of 2020. And then all of a sudden, we know what took place. The coronavirus touched down on the shores of America. And so despite the spread of the coronavirus, I've been blessed to still serve and make the Plant-Based Loser Challenge available to people around the country. And it's going strong because some people recognize that it's so important. It's more important now than ever to focus on losing weight. It is so important because now we know with the spread of the coronavirus, being overweight or being obese is one of those medical conditions that makes you more vulnerable upon being infected by the coronavirus to COVID-19 disease. So we want to prevent that. And I'm that much more enthused and driven to help people stop discontinue tolerating remaining overweight, especially African Americans, because African Americans, out of all ethnic and racial groups, we have the highest BMIs and the highest body fat percentages. So I wanted to, for a year plus, I've been interviewing various individuals who've participated in the Plant-Based Loser Challenge. And my guest this evening is someone who's done extraordinarily well. He just finished up his 21-day plant-based weight loss challenge. And I'm going to interview Dr. Ollie Johnson. He is the chair of the Department of African American Studies at Wayne State University, which is in the Detroit, Michigan area. And I'm going to bring him on live right here and right now. Dr. Johnson, welcome.
Welcome, Shabaka. Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate you and appreciate what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I certainly appreciate it.
I want to tell your listeners that I have.
You know what? We've got a little interference.
Should I try again?
Dr. Johnson, do me a favor. Check your reception bars. Check your reception bars for me because I'm getting some interference. And check your reception for me. And my reception looks strong. Check yours and let me know. because we were
As
getting
does
some
mine.
distortion, and I'm thinking it's due. hmm So what we're gonna do is attempt to proceed, and your signal looks good. Say what you just said, so the audience can hear you.
I've known you, Shabaka, since you were a little boy.
That's right. That's right. We have a backstory.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm hearing and seeing you well, and I'm going to say, okay, God, interfere, intervene, and keep this signal strong. Yeah. So, as Dr. Johnson just said, he's known me since I was a little guy, and we come from Atlantic City, New Jersey, and we both come from Stanley Holmes Village. So, if there's some people from Atlantic City on live, make sure you share this with other residents of Atlantic City and either current residents or former residents of Atlantic City, because we have a common bond, and we want to make sure our folks back in Atlantic City, New Jersey, know what time it is as far as public health success. I'm calling out all African Americans to participate in the upcoming plant-based day, which is scheduled on Independence Day, July 4th, 2020, where I'm asking all African Americans nationwide to adopt a whole foods plant-based eating style on 4th of July, Independence Day, Freedom from Food Slavery Day. This is how it's going down. So, Dr. Johnson, and look, I gotta be real. Of course, I've called you Peppy forever, and I know you as Peppy. We're like family basically, because his uncle was like my dad, Duke, the late George Johnson, great man, and he was basically my dad. He was my, I call him my stepfather because he raised me basically, and Duke was Ollie's uncle. And so props, shout out, continue to rest in peace to Duke. And here we are, man. I want to start off by asking you, what was it like to adopt a whole foods plant-based eating style for 21 days?
It was enjoyable. It was a challenge. I have to shout out my wife, Lori Robinson, who was my accountability partner, and she helped me through it. She agreed with the mission, and I don't know if you know it, but you are her new best friend now, and she wants me to be in constant contact with you so I can continue my journey. I feel that my experience was a great success. I lost 24 pounds in 21 days. And so I took the pledge and the challenge seriously. And I followed your guidelines and recommendations, and I committed to it. I think I wanted to go 100%. I would say that I went 99% because I slipped up on my last day, but it was a good experience. It was challenging. I could feel my body transforming, definitely week by week, but really day by day. And so I had a positive experience of losing weight throughout the challenge and feeling better. So I just have positive memories, positive experiences, and I have been persuaded intellectually that a plant-based organic diet is the best in terms of health and nutrition, but I haven't made that commitment yet. I've definitely incorporated all the elements of the challenge into my lifestyle, but I'm not vegan yet. I'm not vegetarian, but I'm eating better, and I want to continue on that path of eating better, a lot of plants, a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits. And I think I'm at the stage where I need to pick up my exercise, my workouts, because I do a lot of walking, but I need to get some jogging in there. I need to get some weight training in there. So I think that'll be the next step for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely going to, and I would even take the volume down because I'm getting an echo from your end. And the good thing about this live, you can go back and watch it. You can go back and watch it. So I still get a little echo. I'm getting a little echo still, but what I'll do is talk through it, and maybe if you take the volume down altogether, that'd be fine. So I wanna repeat what Dr. Johnson just said. He had a positive experience. You were definitely one of the A-level plant-based loser challenge participants in the history of the brand, because the brand is now we're talking 15 months in, and you gave it, as far as I'm concerned, you gave it 100%. And it really shows. But I want to ask you this. I know, but I'm gonna ask questions so the audience, so the viewers can understand what took place. Tell them how much weight you lost 14 days in, and how much weight were you losing per day the first 14 days?
Well, I've got to go back to my calendar. I started the challenge at 272 pounds. And I believe I can't find my my numbers here, but
it's going out again.
I can't find my numbers, but for the first 2 weeks, or let's say for the first week, I lost 2 pounds a day. And so I was very hyped and amped about the process. After that, I had stretches where I continued to lose 2 pounds a day, and other periods where I lost 1 pound a day. And so it ended up being 24 pounds in 21 days. So I tapered off after the first week, but and I was a little down. But you said no, it's going well. Your body can respond in different ways, and so I maintained a positive attitude throughout, and agree with you that it was an overwhelming success, and I want to continue down that road.
Absolutely, folks. And so, Dr. Johnson, I picked up some interference, and I'm not sure if it's from your end or mine. As I look at my reception bars, it looks good on my end. Maybe check yours. It's kind of outside of our control, but I just want to let the viewers know, if they didn't hear you, in the first 14 days, Dr. Johnson was losing 2 pounds per day. He was losing 2 pounds of body fat daily for the first 14 days. And basically, any weight loss program. No, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. He lost 2 pounds a day in the first 7 days for a 14-pound weight loss. in the first 7 days. And I wanted to reiterate the fact that in the first 7 days, Dr. Johnson lost 2 pounds per day in the first 7 days for a total of 14 pounds lost in 7 days. So, and let me let the viewers understand that he wasn't just, he had a guideline that I formulated. And for those of you who don't know, I have 22 years in the fitness industry, in the wellness industry, and also nutrition industry. I'm a nutrition performance coach. So Dr. Johnson, for 21 days, followed my plant-based metabolic weight loss plan. And as you heard him say, in case you were picking up on the sound distortion that I was, Dr. Johnson had mentioned that in the first 7 days, daily, he was losing 2 pounds a day in the first 7 days for a total of 14 pounds lost in 7 days. And of course, subsequently, in 21 days, he went on to lose a total of 24 pounds in 21 days, which is phenomenal. Comparatively speaking, if you compare that amount of weight loss, 24 pounds in 21 days, most people on typical weight loss programs or diets don't lose uh, don't lose 24 pounds in 12 weeks. So as I shared with him, we had a coaching moment, and I told him, not only have you exceeded the average weight loss, comparatively speaking, I know of some physicians who are plant-based that aren't getting weight loss results like this. So I wanted to, we had a coaching moment. I had to put my nutrition performance coach hat on and to let you know how exceptional your rate of weight loss was. What are some of the other things you notice? Let the viewers know, Dr. Johnson, energy wise, what you noticed from before. How would you describe your energy before starting the plant-based metabolic weight loss plan? And how your energy, what changes you noticed as you were participating day by day on the plan?
Well, I'll say the obvious. Before the plan, I felt heavier. I felt kind of sluggish, not really enthused about going for my walks, being active. And almost immediately, definitely during the first week, I just felt lighter, felt kind of physically, I felt lighter, but psychologically, I gained enthusiasm throughout the process because I could see the weight disappearing. And so I think I was more excited to go for my walks. I was more focused, and I definitely brought a positive attitude into it and maintained it throughout the whole process. So I had to stay positive because I know I have a long way to go, but it was a good experience. And again, had a lot of support from my wife and from you. And so I definitely would recommend the 21-day challenge to all folks who are interested in losing weight. As a matter of fact, I'm considering doing it again. And I want to talk to you about that. But I'm excited about the weight that I've lost, and I'm excited about the weight that I'm going to lose. So I'm going to consult with you. I'm going to up my exercise and workouts, and I feel optimistic that I'm going to get to where I want to go.
And I want to apologize to you, Dr. Johnson, and the viewers, because I think the reception issue is from my end, because Dr. Johnson stayed on screen, I went off, and this is definitely my cue to resort to an Ethernet cable that's going to give me a strong, solid, reliable signal. I've moved uptown a couple months ago, and I've been using particular Wi-Fi, but I'm going to have to use Ethernet now, just to ensure that my broadcasts are not intercepted because of a weak signal. So I apologize to the viewers for that, but I believe you were able to hear Dr. Johnson comment on his experiences and how, I believe you said, Dr. Johnson, you're planning to do the 21-day plant-based weight loss challenge again, correct?
Correct. Yes. Correct. I am going to do it again.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I'm optimistic, as I was the first time, and I'm going to increase my physical activity, increase my exercise. So very optimistic that I'm going to continue to lose weight, get in better shape, feel better, look better, the whole thing.
And absolutely, I mean, the fact that you lost 24 pounds in 21 days and going to go at it again, commit to eating according to the plant-based metabolic weight loss plan I formulated, you will lose at least another 24 pounds. However, by you adding in exercise, specifically aerobic conditioning, I just recommended jogging, you'll definitely hit that 50-pound mark. I believe you could lose over 30 pounds by adding in jogging. And the Plant-Based Loser Challenge is not a fitness challenge, but I just simply recommended that Dr. Johnson incorporate and implement jogging. And that's going to exacerbate the rate of weight loss. But I think it's important for the viewers to understand that for those watching and listening right here and right now, if you are overweight or obese, you're in a state metabolically that I refer to as waiting, and that's WEIGHTING, waiting. Now, it's not just a play on words. It's I coined the term, but I have a definition that's scientific, and it's a metabolic state of progressive weight gain. And so it's important to understand that if you're overweight or obese, you're in a progressive state of metabolic weight gain. You're in a progressive state, a metabolic state of progressive weight gain. And it's important for people to understand that if you're in that metabolic state, you notice that quarter after quarter or year after year, you gain weight. And so anybody that's overweight, you didn't put it on in 1 year. It's progressive. It happens annually. And it's important to have an intervention. So the plant-based metabolic weight loss plan is an intervention. And so that's a segue into my next question. And I think this is the most important question. Dr. Johnson, what did you notice took place in the first day or two or three as it relates to addictive hunger? Did you notice that your cravings for sugary, salty, and fatty processed foods disappeared? Was it in the first day, second, or the third?
I don't think I noticed. I was all into the program, and so as anyone who knows me knows, I, over my lifetime, have eaten too many cookies, too much ice cream, and had too much soda to drink. So I cut that out, and I really didn't miss it from the beginning, and I don't miss it now. And so I feel very good about that. I don't understand that, but I definitely have been a big sweets person, but I don't feel kind of desires or cravings for sweets. And I do think the plant based challenge had that effect on me, kind of took away my desire. So it was a smooth transition for me. I didn't feel any withdrawal or any
Right.
cravings or anything like that. So I'm glad it was a smooth experience.
And I appreciate the feedback. I've not had one dedicated plant-based loser challenge customer ever tell me that they were still dealing with cravings, addictive cravings. So one of the things when I went into developing this meal plan was really an evolution of my 22-year career and experience as a trainer and also nutrition performance coach, where people pay me big bucks for getting them in shape. But not only getting them in shape, I've been able to get them in shape internally, meaning biochemically and metabolically fit, because you can work out all you want. You can exercise and still have excessive abdominal belly fat. You can exercise and still have type 2 diabetes. You can exercise and still have um, elevated blood pressure, elevated blood glucose because of insulin resistance. So exercise plays a role, but if you're on a Western diet, if you're on a standard American diet and you're overweight and you're dealing with chronic inflammation and you're dealing with hormonal imbalance and some digestive issues, you still can be overweight while exercising. And what people don't know, Dr. Johnson, that weight loss is actually easy. Now, you now know that statement is true. You know it personally that weight loss is easy. Your biology has all of the mechanisms and systems and stuff to lose weight. So weight loss is easy, but the real obstacle, the number one obstacle that prevents and stops people from starting their weight loss journey is food addiction. And so you just heard Dr. Johnson mention that he had no issues. He had no cravings for sugary, salty, and fatty processed foods. And you heard him mention that you had a history of drinking soda, but you didn't think about or crave soda during this 21-day journey. And that's remarkable.
Yeah, I definitely feel good about that. I think that was one of the highlights of my experience. So uh, we'll definitely look to maintain it.
Mm-hmm. And I want to unpack that a little further, because a lot of people don't know Dr. Johnson is, consuming processed foods, and most processed foods by food companies are engineered to ensure that you come back for more. Meaning the food companies all have food chemists, and these food chemists engineer the processed food products that they sell so that you will come back for more. And they understand the neurology or the brain component to food. They understand that if you combine sugar, salt, and fat together, you're going to ensure that that customer comes back for more. And so all processed foods don't have that combination, but all processed foods will have either sugar or fat or salt, and some combine two out of the three. Some combine all three. For instance, the potato chip is the most perfect example of an addictive processed food, because it has oil, which is fat. It has some sugar. Most potato chips have some sugar, and potato chips have salt. And so any highly processed food that's packaged, that's sold on the market, always has sugar or salt or fat, and even processed grain, for instance, white flour in and of itself. Um, but typically, something with white flour always has salt, and typically it may have sugar and cooked oil, which is fat. So when you combine that, it always releases dopamine. Whereas when you adopt whole food, plant-based eating style, those foods, when you're consuming them, do not release dopamine. So for people out there that are attempting to do a protest, personal protest against consuming highly processed, or should I say crap, calorie-rich and processed foods, guess what? Without the proper plan, like the plant-based metabolic weight loss plan, what's going to happen is withdrawal symptoms, withdrawal symptoms like headaches, jitters, moodiness. That will cause you to go back and eat those foods because basically you don't have the proper eating plan with the right arrangement and combinations of foods that would actually prevent and offset what's called toxic metabolites. Toxic metabolites are a byproduct of consuming calorie rich and processed foods. And they're responsible. Toxic metabolites are what's responsible for the intense cravings and the withdrawal symptoms that are part of addiction that have been well studied, well documented. And people trying to eat better, in most cases, they deal with withdrawal. And they typically cave in and resort back to eating those calorie rich and processed foods that are keeping them obese and keeping them overweight and keeping them type 2 diabetics and keeping them with elevated blood pressure. So I commend you for giving it 100% because you follow the plant-based metabolic weight loss plan, Dr. Johnson. You didn't have to deal with any of those withdrawal symptoms that are part and parcel of food addiction or any addiction.
Yeah, I guess I didn't expect to experience it, and I didn't experience it, so I feel good about it. I was going to ask you though, what are some of the other foods that you strongly encourage people to avoid? I know there are many, but you said the potato chip or potato chips. What are some of the others that are to be avoided at all costs?
Yeah, so just as a great question, great question. Just as like, think of it like this. It's not what you do infrequently or sometimes, it's what you do frequently or often that really shows up and adversely affects your biology. So when you think of what foods to avoid, it's best to focus. I like to take the approach of proactively eat the foods that your cells and genes were made and designed for. Because what happens is when people oftentimes focus on changing their diet, they're so focused on what they have to eliminate that it discourages them from getting started. So it's important to, I always say, think in terms of putting first things first. Eat those foods that your cells and DNA and genes were made for. And then there's really no room for those calorie rich and processed foods. But to answer your question, white flour, white sugar, those false foods, they're not foods because real food provides micronutrients and macronutrients, not just macronutrients that are empty and devoid of fiber. So, what makes calorie rich and processed foods dangerous? They are devoid or have diminished fiber content, They're devoid or have diminished micronutrient density. Micronutrients are vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and phytonutrients. Fiber only comes and is found from plant source foods. In other words, animal products have zero fiber. That's science, not my opinion. This is food chemistry. So animal products have zero fiber, very little to no micronutrients, and whatever iron you find in beef, it's only because of the plants, the plant-based foods that the cow consumed when they was alive, where you get the iron from in the first place. So vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients come from plant-based foods. Fiber only comes from plant-based foods, so no need for Metamucil, no need for any packaged fiber-based product, because just eat whole plant-based foods and you'll have all of the fiber you could ever want and need. So when you think of foods to avoid, it's best to think of foods that you should be consuming in the first place, because if you're consuming the foods that your cells and DNA was designed for, you're going to feel so good, you're going to feel so content, you're going to feel so light, so energetic that you won't even want to eat foods that bring your energy down, bring your vitality down, cause you to feel moody, cause you to feel like no matter how much you consume, you never feel satisfied. One thing about being a food addict, being addicted to calorie-rich and processed foods, you never feel satisfied. You go from the sugary to the salty to the fatty, and you find that you're eating more and you're never satisfied, but you're also gaining weight progressively. And you stay in this metabolic state where you have low energy. And one of the things people don't realize, if you're dealing with excess abdominal belly fat, that's indicative of what's called insulin resistance. Now, whether you're diagnosed with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes or not, anybody that's overweight, anyone that has excess abdominal belly fat, man or woman, regardless of age, if you have excess abdominal belly fat, you are dealing with insulin resistance, which creates elevated blood glucose. In other words, there's excess glucose, excess sugar circulating in your bloodstream, not only contributing to excess fat around the belly, also damaging your brain. And that's why the leading scientists in the world who are studying and writing about and discussing dementia and Alzheimer's, they're calling dementia and Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. And the reason why is when you're dealing with insulin resistance, and if you're overweight, you're dealing with insulin resistance, whether you're obese or overweight. Insulin resistance causes excess or elevated blood glucose, and that excess blood sugar impacts the brain tissue in a way that it causes what's called glycation, advanced glycation in products. In other words, it's the sugar having an adverse impact on the structure of the brain tissue. Brain tissue is part lipid and protein. And so glycation is when the sugars, excess sugars in the blood, start to destroy, deteriorate, and degenerate the brain, which the first sign is memory loss, forgetfulness. And over time, it leads to more serious, by degree, dementia, Alzheimer's. And this is why the leading minds on this field doing the top research are calling dementia and Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes, is because of the impact of elevated blood glucose on the brain. And this is why we're seeing so many Americans, especially African Americans, be diagnosed with dementia. We're seeing it. It's alarming. And also, the rates of type 2 in the African American population are off the charts. And this is why I was prompted by God to launch the Plant-Based Day Pledge, which is a public health demonstration encouraging all African Americans nationwide to adopt a whole foods plant-based eating style, because we've got to turn the page. And I'm going to ask you a question, Dr. Johnson. We got to go from this era of metabolic syndrome conditions to creating a new public health story where African Americans understand that God didn't design your biology for chronic disease to have a permanent address. You're only dealing with type 2, you're only dealing with obesity, you're only dealing with high blood pressure and abnormal cholesterol and dementia because you're eating by your own will, versus the garden. Look in Genesis. It was said in the beginning what types of foods you should consume for health. I have a question, Dr. Johnson. You're an African American man, you're a Black man. How important is it for African American men to pursue the adoption of a whole foods plant-based eating style in order to have a shot at metabolic health? How important is it for Black men to make this change?
I think it's of the utmost importance. I have had a opportunity to talk to you in depth about the knowledge that you're sharing now. And I believe that you are on a mission from God to save not only our people, Black folks, but all people. And so I have the utmost respect for your knowledge, your commitment, your mission, because to me, as a scholar, it really is a life or death issue. It's a life or death issue, and it's a quality of life issue. It's a quality of life issue. And we live in times of coronavirus pandemic, global pandemic. But we also live in times of great protests, mobilizations, and activism. And I think we have to take our destiny into our hands. And the first way and the best way to do that is by eating a plant-based diet, paying attention to what we put into our bodies, what we eat and what we drink, what we think. Thoughts are powerful, as you know. And a lot of people are saying that racism is a public health issue, and that we have, because of so much racism in the United States and the world, Black people are in crisis. That's one of the contributors to our crisis, that we are denied by the big corporations and the big forces in society from easy access to the best foods at affordable prices. And so we've got to make the effort to eat better, do what we have to do to take care of ourselves and our families. And so I definitely agree that every Black man, woman, and child should be eating more vegetables, fruits, drinking more water. It's clear. And so I applaud your efforts and want to help you reach a larger audience in the Black community and beyond the Black community, so that we as a people are healthier, we as a nation are healthier, and we as a world are healthier. So I think we can do it. I think we have to do it.
That's right. I agree with you 1,000,000,000%. And you know what's fascinating? Of course, yes, we're in times of protest, rightfully so. And you know, the biggest statement, the biggest, boldest statement that's been said for years and now has mainstream support and backing is Black Lives Matter. And because of, you know, my God-given purpose and mission, I've served and helped all Americans in my 22 years as a personal trainer and nutrition performance coach, now online influencer 2 years in. Um, you know, Black lives definitely matter. And I encourage African Americans to take 100% responsibility for their health destiny. And one of the most powerful ways to make a statement daily about your existence mattering is to eat like you matter. You know, Black lives do matter. So eat like you matter. And this is the message that I'm speaking to all African Americans, encouraging them to adopt a plant-based eating style. And let's start with one day with the Plant-Based Day Pledge. But you know what else is fascinating, Dr. Johnson? Homicide is the 7th leading cause of death amongst the African American population. And there's no other ethnic or racial group that has homicide listed in the top 10 leading cause of death. But it's 7th. Homicide is 7th leading cause of death amongst the African American population. However, what I call food side or food slavery is responsible for the number 1 leading cause of death, which is heart disease. It's responsible for the number 2 cause of death, which is cancer. And the number 4, the number 5, the number 6, the number 8, the number 9 causes of death are all because of food slavery, which is, to really make it simplistic, food addiction, addictive consumption of calorie-rich and processed foods. And so even though we're up in arms and we're protesting for justice, as we should, homicide is the 7th leading cause of death amongst the African American population. But what I call, and I'm going to begin calling, what I've been saying as food slavery, food side or foodicide, I have to finalize which one I'm going to go with, is really responsible. Food slavery is really responsible for, I would say, 7 to 8 of the top 10 leading causes of death. So the number 1 threat to Black existence isn't cops and the coronavirus. It's food slavery. And I want to say that because we're in a period of time where a lot of change is happening, but you know, as African Americans, we've got to take 100% responsibility for our health destiny. You know, it's funny, I always tell my clients, God gave you your biology, not your physician. So, you know, each of us are responsible for this, not our physician. So it's important that all Americans, but definitely African Americans, we've got to say, look, because we hear about disparities, we hear about health equity, but the truth of the matter is we have been given the power of choice. We've been given free will. We can decide to get free from food slavery. And that's what the Plant-Based Day Pledge is all about. You know, it's important for African Americans to take a stand against food slavery. And honestly, health success, public health success is attainable because within ourselves, Dr. Johnson, God has given us all of the health potential that we could ever need. And by adopting a whole foods plant-based eating style, we can activate and cause that potential, that health potential to emerge as measurable metabolic health that can be validated by the medical community. And we deserve it. It's time. It's time for a new African American public health story.
I hear you and I agree. And I'm glad that you're getting the workout. I like the connection you're making between eating right, eating as if your health mattered, as if your body mattered, because it does. And if you believe that Black Lives Matter, then you should be on a plant-based diet, eating more
facts,
organic food, whole foods, vegetables and fruits. I think the path is clear, the way is clear, but I like your embracing the concept of Black Lives Matter and telling folks how much control, convincing folks of how much control they have over their destiny, that we have over our destiny. I think we have to keep on hearing that message, because if you watch too much TV and watch a lot of news, sometimes you can think that you don't have control and that there are forces greater than you that determine outcomes. But I agree with you that we have a lot of say in how we live, how long we live, the quality of life. And I think we all want a high quality of life. We want to be able to enjoy life, to be active, to do things with family and friends, kids and grandkids. So that's real.
And I appreciate your commentary, because, and I want to say this, for those I did mention, Dr. Johnson is a scholar. He is he's the chair of the Department of African American Studies at Wayne State. And tell the viewers, what is it that you do as a chair, as a professor? What is it that you write about? What is it that you speak about? What is it that you do in the position that you're in?
Well, let me give folks a little background. I'm from Atlantic City, New Jersey, born and raised. I went to Brown University, majored in African American Studies and International Relations, got a master's degree from Brown in Brazilian Studies, became fascinated with Brazil. And then I got a master's and a PhD in political science from the University of California at Berkeley. And so my entire adult life has been dedicated to study, reading, researching, learning, and teaching. And so I do what I love. I teach courses on Black politics here in the United States and Black politics internationally. That's my particular interest. And in the Department of African American Studies at Wayne State University, we have about 10 full-time faculty members. We have about 10 part-time faculty members. And we teach courses on all aspects of the Black experience in the United States and abroad. There are Black people all over the world who speak different languages and have different histories. Unfortunately, during the last 500 years, most of our people have experienced colonialism, slavery, discrimination, segregation. So if you go to Brazil or other countries in Latin America, you often see our people overrepresented among the poor, overrepresented among the powerless. And so we've got to change that. But in our department, we have faculty who are dedicated to studying all aspects of the global Black experience. So I enjoy what I do. I teach and do research, advise and mentor students. And so been doing it for about 27 years. Hope to do it for another 27. But life is good, man. Even though we are in some challenging times, I am blessed to do what I like and have been doing it for a while, but I want to keep on doing it and do it better. And if we have any students in the audience, I want to encourage them to take African American Studies classes at their local colleges and universities or online. This pandemic has contributed to an expansion of online teaching. So you can be kind of anywhere in the United States or anywhere in the world and take courses in Black studies. So I encourage folks to do that.
Nice suggestion. And it's funny because my daughter and you may not notice, my daughter Naila, she graduated from UNCG, and she has a degree in African American and African diasporan studies.
Whoa.
With double major in sociology. So she graduated in 2018, and she's doing well. So that was her interest, which is interesting. I've always had that interest, and I always did my own personal research. But it's amazing to see that my daughter actually pursued it in college and undergrad and got her degree. So I didn't think you knew that, so I wanted to mention that. Yeah, Naila Ahmed. So she's doing her thing. I'll have to make sure I introduce you to. But so you spoke about being a professor. Last question. You spoke about being a professor, and this has been your interest for 27 years, and that you'd like to have at least 27 more years. And that prompted me to ask you a very important question that's so related, because oftentimes both of us being African-American men, how often do you hear other African-American men saying that they want to be a great-grandfather, not just a grandfather or even a grandfather, great-grandfather? Me as an African-American man connected with other African-American men, I don't hear them talking about longevity at all. I hear them talking about life insurance as if there's no expectancy to live long. Do you find that common amongst Black men that you know in the circles that you are a part of? Are Black men? I don't see Black men expecting to live long.
Well, that's a very powerful question. And I think I meet and interact with a good range of folks in the Black community, including Black men. But no, I don't hear a lot of talk about brothers talking about being grandfathers and great-grandfathers. And I think there is a heightened sensitivity to the reality that we have one of the shortest life expectancies in the world. As you know, my father died young, 45 years old. History of drug and alcohol abuse. My uncle, your stepfather, Duke, died young. And so we have a lot of examples in our lives of brothers who get caught up in situations where they make bad choices or oppressive realities are imposed upon them and they can't handle it. So that's part of the reason that I'm so excited about what you're doing, because you're emphasizing the positive. You're emphasizing what we can do as human beings to not only to be there, but to live a high quality of life and to enjoy our relationships with our families and friends and make our contributions to society. I think that's what it has to be about, making the world a better place wherever you are, in your neighborhood, your city, your state, your nation, the world. That is our responsibility as humans and as children of God. And I definitely think you're doing good work. I want to applaud you. I want to encourage you to keep on keeping on. And I expect that you'll have continued positive results, man, positive outcomes.
Yeah, man, that's what it's all about. I have a calling on my life, and I'm just grateful to be able to serve you and other people. Of course, the plant-based loser challenge, I get to serve everybody, all ethnic groups. You know, not just African Americans. Like in the community, we're approaching 100 members in the plant-based loser challenge community. I have Black folks, Caucasian folks. I have a guy that resides in India, so that's for everybody. The Plant Based Day Pledge is a public health demonstration encouraging African Americans nationwide to adopt a plant-based eating style. And so that's for African Americans because if we look at the data, the public health data, whether it's the NIH or the CDC, we know when it comes to chronic diseases, when it comes to obesity, given our population only we represent as African Americans 13% of the US population. When we look at the rates of obesity and overweight and diabetes and heart disease and cancer and strokes, we're leading as compared to our Caucasian counterparts. We're leading in those categories, but we don't have to, and neither does any other African American. Any other Americans have to be dying from preventable conditions. For African Americans, the message is clear. A whole foods plant-based eating style is the one eating style proven scientifically and clinically to not only prevent, but also arrest and reverse the number one killer of all Americans, which is heart disease. But not only that, it can arrest and reverse obesity. It can free you from food addiction. It can arrest and reverse high blood pressure. If you're a type 2 diabetic, we know clinically it can not only prevent diabetes, it can arrest and reverse type 2 diabetes, because I've had 6 people arrest and reverse type 2 diabetes in my plant-based personal training programs. And so it's clear, it's important that African American men, a part of the Plant-Based Day Pledge is to get African American men to focus on longevity. And the reason why, like you said, we're not focused on longevity is because premature death has been so prevalent. We've observed it in our own families, with men in our families and women in our families. Our women, African American women, the breast cancer and ovarian cancer rates are skyrocketing. It's time for us to, it's important. Quality of life is important. It's the quality of the days we have. Who wants to live in pain? Who wants to deal with suffering when you can eat meals that arrest and reverse suffering in your biology? God didn't design and make these temples for chronic disease to even exist. So, Dr. Johnson, I want to thank you for your feedback. I want to thank you for your commitment. You went all in, and you dedicated yourself day by day, meal by meal. Not only day by day, meal by meal. He followed the plant-based metabolic weight loss plan. He gave it 100%. 21 days in, 24 pounds of fat gone. See you later. You do not have permanent residence on my biology anymore. And he's about to do the 21-day plant-based weight loss challenge one more time. And I know for a fact you're going to hit that 50 pounds of weight release marker. You're going to say goodbye. And then from there, you had momentum right now, Dr. Johnson. You're going to go all the way. And when I want to do a follow-up interview so people can follow your success, follow your journey, and you're an African-American man. You are deserving and worthy of metabolic health. You're on the journey of metabolic health. It's really not about weight loss. It's really about pursuing metabolic health. Because as you're on this journey of metabolic health, the weight loss is a consequence. So I applaud you. I appreciate the questions. We've had some great coaching sessions. And I just appreciate the fact that you're a Black man, you're an African-American man who knows you matter. You have purpose. You're living your purpose. You're making your contribution by making sure that the African-American journey and narrative and story is told. And more students embrace that story through learning at the academic level. But a part of that story is right here, right now, African Americans, we have an opportunity to create a new public health story by taking the Plant-Based Day pledge. It's going to take each of us to say, look, okay, Black lives do really matter. Let's prove it. Take the pledge. Start eating like you matter, because that's one of the most powerful forms of protest. You're standing up to say, look, I believe I matter. I know I matter. God put me here. Therefore, I matter. I'm enough. Let's prove it through the meals you consume. That's one of the most powerful ways you can say without even having to say that Black lives matter. You're proving it by the meals you consume day by day. It's time to eat like you matter. Dr. Johnson, I appreciate you taking a stand and beginning this journey of eating like you matter. Next time I interview you, we're going to be talking about you having lost 50 plus pounds.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate your vision and your purpose. And it was a pleasure to be here. I have to thank my sister, Kelly Ann Johnson, for reconnecting us, man, after years of not being in touch. So she's the woman. And I look forward to coming back on your program to share my experiences, to do what I can to help your mission. It's righteous, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson. I appreciate your time. And of course, we're in touch. This is for life. So this is what it is. And I'm grateful. And God's biology deserves better. And God's biology deserves plant-based foods. And you heard it, folks, to all Americans, to African Americans, everybody. You matter, eat like you matter, and let's just experience biological happiness. God bless you all, everybody. Dr. Johnson, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I want to, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I want to thank the viewers for joining us this evening. Peace and soul. Take the plant-based day pledge, everybody. For those of you focused on weight loss, if you really are serious, the plant-based loser challenge is the most powerful, most aggressive option. If you cannot afford to invest $349, take the plant-based day pledge. It's only $97. I would say, from my research, it's the world's first plant-based intermittent fasting plan. In fact, Dr. Johnson is about to embark on that. Have you started the plant-based intermittent fasting plan yet, or you're about to start?
I
Or you're
have
going to
not.
do the 21 days?
Well,
Okay.
I'm going
So
to
we
talk
got
to
that.
you. I'm going to talk to you about my options, but I'm going to be on one of those two plans.
Yeah, I would recommend the plant-based intermittent fasting plan because it has integrated components of the plan you just finished, but also the principles of intermittent fasting. So we'll talk about that off show, because to get that kind of knowledge, folks, you got to invest in yourself. Then that way you can get the guidance, the guidelines, the love and support from me, Dr. Johnson, to tell you there's so much love and care. Like when I get customers, when I get plant-based loser challenge customers or plant-based day pledge customers, I'll get on the phone with you. And it's not even designed for one-on-one, but at this point, we don't have thousands of people. So time-wise, I can do it. I can get on the phone. I can coach. I can provide that support because I love you. I love people. I love Dr. Johnson. I love all people. And I want to see people no longer go through unnecessary suffering. And it's time for people to have a shot at what I call biological wealth. So I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. Thanks for watching. Dr. Johnson, again, thank you. We will talk very soon. And God bless everybody. I hope you enjoyed this particular broadcast. Take care.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, folks, thanks again. Until the next time, have a wonderful night. Enjoy the remainder of your week and get ready for the next interview. I will be interviewing a judge on Monday coming up. I will post the interview. It's going to be amazing. When you hear her story of transformation, it's going to blow you away. This coming Monday, I'm going to be interviewing a judge. Take care, everybody. I love you. May you love you. Black lives really do matter. So eat like you matter. If you want help, you know where to go. Go here and become part of the Plant-Based Day Pledge. Or if you're really, really serious about losing weight and you want a more aggressive plan, then the Plant-Based Loser Challenge will be the great option. Although folks are losing weight as members of the Plant-Based Day Pledge, but if you're overweight by 40 or more pounds, then I would highly recommend participating in the Plant-Based Loser Challenge for 21 days so you can access my proprietary plant-based metabolic weight loss plan and concentrate on targeting inflammation in the first 7 days, hormonal imbalance in days 8 through 14, and in the last 7 days, digestive issues. We know clinically and scientifically that weight loss resistance is due to chronic inflammation, hormonal imbalance, and digestive issues. So we can put it in, we can arrest and reverse weight loss. We can put an end to it. It's easy. Weight loss is easy. Yes, I said it, and I can prove it to you. Take care. Have a wonderful night, and reach out. If you got any questions, leave a comment. If you're interested, leave a comment under this broadcast, and I'll follow up with you and provide support and help you win at health success. Take care.